Do you know what's fierce? Winning. In today's tutorial, we are doing winged eyeliner sharp enough to cut your enemy. Stay tuned. Hi guys, it's Jules, and in today's tutorial, we are going to conquer our enemies. We have the Pat McGrath Divine Rose 1 and 2 palettes, and I'm going to show you this very fierce, sharp, winged eyeliner look that will be good enough to spar with any enemy. This will include full swatches of both palettes, as well as my review and demo on 2 of the shades, 1 from each palette, so please stay tuned. I love makeup, and as much as I love makeup, I also love mindset. And so I thought I'd combine them together in a series on my channel where I do my makeup, I talk about something that's really exciting, but also too, more importantly, mindset. The love, the drama, the advice, things that are challenges and triumphs in my own life, as well as things that might be of concern to you. These are things that I'd love to do, and it's going to be called Makeup Mindset Mondays. I'm really excited about this, and this is the first one. We're going to get started. Today's topic is facing the toxic and negative relationships or people in our lives. I thought that this was such a good place to start for this because she herself, Pat McGrath, is such a fierce pioneer. She is, if you don't know, a iconic makeup artist that worked on a lot of famous celebrities. She's had a long career and is very known for fierce and iconic looks. And so when her palettes came out, this one last year and this one this year, I know I had to have them both. Even on the back, the description was so funny because it resonated with today's mindset topic because it says, Pat McGrath Labs, Mothership, use without caution. Shade throwing and eye ecstasy may result with prolonged use. So I thought it was funny because you know, we all deal with negative or toxic people in our lives sometimes, and we need to overcome it, and a fierce makeup look always helps. This is a good place to get started. So I'm going to show you both palettes to begin with. I did want to mention the outside packaging that these palettes come in. Boy, these are 2 of the most stunning pieces of art I've ever seen. I don't know if it shows up on camera, but they are just so beautiful, and whoever is the art director of Pat McGrath, they know what they're doing. Honestly, you don't want to throw these out. They are part of the collection, I think. This is the Pat McGrath Mothership 7 Divine Rose. This is the original palette that launched, I think, last year. The outer casing is a shiny black, very heavy, very luxe feeling casing, and inside is a very nice quality beveled mirror, as well as these 10 shades. They are so gorgeous, a mix of matte as well as slight shimmer, as well as these high foil shades. I think that a lot of people would get a lot of good use out of it. It is erring on the side of neutral, but with like a deep shade and a couple of rose shades. Obviously it is called the Divine Rose palette, so that is definitely where this palette's story is. And this one is a Pat McGrath Mothership 8 Divine Rose 2 palette. This launched a couple of months ago this year, and I picked it up. It did come in a limited edition pink shiny covering, but I wanted both of mine to match, so I did get them in the same color. And this is absolutely beautiful as well. These are the 2 palettes side by side. This one is the original and this one is the second one. As you can see, definitely the color stories are rose based, but the original is definitely a more neutral palette, and the 2 is a more rosy, but also it has a couple of shades in there that are a lot more vibrant, and I guess they add a little bit more of an interesting pop to the palette. So I'm gonna swatch them for you now. My face looks blank again, guys. I only have foundation and eyebrows on. I do have an eyebrow tutorial on how I do my eyebrows. I will link it here. I will list the products that I use in today's video in the description box below. Feel free to interchange any of your current products or any of your favorites. So we're gonna start with our concealer. You wanna go in with a brightening concealer. Again, this look is for when you're about to meet or exceed your enemy. So you want really bright under eyes. So you're gonna go a shade or two lighter than your foundation, and you want to, this is going to be a really contoured look. So we want to conceal any dark edges on our face. So any imperfections, we're wiping them completely out. So I just take my fingertips. You can also use a very small brush, but I like my fingertips because it warms up the product and it really blends it right in, and you can keep going until you blend in that product. And it's so easy. You see it and you feel it. And as I'm going along, I'm just blending it in. So today's makeup look got inspired because obviously I've been through some stuff, and especially if you're my age or not, you've been through some stuff too. So I got inspired to do this series, which I thought is so important for women to talk about the things that happen to us, because it's through sharing that we learn how to better cope, so that we can learn some strategies so that we can not only survive things, but also thrive these events in our lives. There's been times in my life where, you'll have a very negative or toxic experience or a person in your life, and that can just really impact you in such a profoundly negative way. This makeup look is for when you're encountering them, or in your mind anyway, and you say all the things that you would have said or could have said or should have said at that time. Okay, so we're gonna go in and do all of our imperfections. So this is also too, wherever you have texture, you can use this concealer because it's lighter, so you can just take it to the shadows of your face, anywhere there's a blemish or a crease that has a wrinkle that has a shadow, you can also apply it there so that the light deflects away from those imperfections, and that's what we're really needing in this situation, especially. So, I mean, the reality of the situation is we all have people in our lives that, that we don't always get along with, or that we don't always see eye to eye on. The challenge is always trying to, learn something, trying not to let, these influences totally overwhelm us or totally consume us. So that is the trick. And I think for, I think high school, a lot of people, or girls in particular, are really susceptible to other girls or other people's opinions. And I think that's what makeup is. We learn the art of, it is an exterior armor. It's something that we put on so that we cover our imperfections, we try, and it's like a shield to the world, right? We're trying to put forth our best foot. So our concealer's done, and we're going in with our setting powder. Some people like to bake, but I think it settles in the creases, so I just like to press a little bit in, and on both sides, just let it quote bake or set there just for a minute. But we're gonna go in and wipe it away pretty quickly. We're not gonna let it become too, I'm not gonna let it become we're not gonna give it too much time to bake. And the same thing in any other oily areas like our T-zone. So, I mean, I would like to get to the point where this Makeup and Mindset Monday could be about me answering questions related to challenges that you guys have in your lives and trying to maybe give you some advice regarding, you know, love or friendship. I'm going to cut out the bottom half of, I'm going to just put a little baking underneath. I'm just going to press a little, I'm going to just press a little powder underneath our contour line just so that our contour line can look even more severe, because after all, we're going to cut a bitch. So that's done. This look is a very contoured look. So we want to take a cool tone bronzer. For me, that's Hoola. I find that this one is not super warm. We want to do a pretty pronounced contour for this look. So in order to achieve this, you need a pretty cool toned bronzer. So I would stay away from any of the Charlotte Tilbury or any of those type of bronzers that have a more orange or red tone. I would try and go in with a more neutral or gray or slight grayish tone, and we're gonna start with, in my case, my forehead. I don't know if you need to do yours, but mine is always something I do. And just to give it a bit more shape and to shorten it a little bit, that is always what we do. And we bring the color down and blend it really well so that it gives our face a lot more dimension. And you can always go in and darken near the hairline so it gives your face a lot more dimension. You can see it already looks a lot, my forehead already looks a lot better. So, and I sometimes even bring it down, whatever's remaining, just to warm up the face. Whether it's a friend or a family member or a boy that has wronged you, I think the lesson in life is, you know, I mean, for sure, it's always very devastating at the time. And we want to like just hate the person, and we want to just, you know, we really want to pretend like we're the victim, or that it was just a horrible thing and we're just, how could they do that to me? And we're doing a lot of ruminating in our own brains, or our thoughts are really cycling as to like, how could they do this to me, or whatever. And I think that's, you know, very normal to feel that way. But the key is, I think the key, especially as pretty emotionally driven people. So I am going around my chin line and I am carving it out. See how sharp that is? And then we also need to bring it down onto our neckline so that it blends in seamlessly with our body, especially on the sides. We want to make sure we blending that out really well so that there's not a harsh demarcation line. And then I'm going to go in. I always like to do the perimeter of the face contour first, and then I like to do the cheek. And we're just going to make this funny look where you pucker in your lips so that it pops out your cheekbones, and that just makes the contouring a lot easier. And we're doing less of a scooped contour and more of a straight. See, it's pretty much a straight line, straight to the mouth, because it's a lot of contouring that we need, because we need to look fierce for this look. After all, we are going to our enemy's funeral. And then we're doing the same on the other side. And of course, we try and keep it pretty narrow, but we do want to blend. Make sure you are blending on the sides as you go down. You are blending it out. And then so back to the logical. So yes, especially when your feelings have been hurt, or there have been some ugly things, or a confrontation, or something negative has happened, then our thoughts are to think, oh my God, exactly like I said, in terms of like trying to really think of it in this negative light. But we should try and really just be really logical you know, have a day or two to feel bad for sure. That's human nature. But at the end of the day, the logic, and I think really trying to see things from both sides and trying to see, you know, because in any conflict or in any relationship, you are only half the equation. I mean, you are the one factor and the other person or the other parties are the other factor. So you only have control over half of it, right? So the minute you can say, I wasn't fully in control in this situation and I didn't have full control, and when you can realize that really only half of it is your part, that's when you can release some of that control. So anyway, I like to contour the eyelids as well. So I just take the same contour shade and I like to just, I'm gonna place it on your lid. That's literally all you're doing. Just saying all around the lid. And then when you do this, whatever eye color you place on top of it after will have a lot more dimension. Take more of that contour on your brush and you're gonna run it down the side of your nose because you're contouring. You just need to look perfect. This occasion calls for extreme contour measures. So you need to take control of your side and decide how you're going to present yourself. It's your choice how your side is going to be. You're going to decide that you're going to fully control only what you can control, if that makes sense. And that whatever they do is not in your control. And so that can really help you put that into perspective. So you're going to look in your mirror and you're going to assess your whole face as a whole. And everybody's face is a little uneven, so there might be one more side that needs a little more contour. Just make sure you go in and make sure that both sides are as much equalized as possible. And that any place that you want to put more contour, you go ahead and do that. So looks pretty good to me. And then we're going to move on to blush. I did mention some of these products in my everyday makeup essentials, so I can definitely link that video as well. I prefer a cool tone blush when you're doing a really contoured look. This one is going to be less on the actual apples of your cheek and concentrating more on the bottom, the top end of your contour, because we want it to look really glowy near our eye. We want to keep that area really light. And if you go in too close with the blush, it will definitely fuse those two areas. So we're going to try and keep it on the edge at the very top of our contour, and we're taking it up, kind of following the top edge of our contour for this cheek look. And same thing, we are doing apples, but at the very bottom. And sometimes when we go ahead and do our contour and our blush, there may be spots where the foundation has lifted or moved a tiny bit. You can always go in with a dab of foundation or a dab of a similar colored concealer and just conceal that out after, because I see I have a little blemish here that doesn't cover up well. And I'm just going to go in and tap that again with the concealer in a second. So you can see when you do your blush, less on the apples of the cheek and more underneath your cheekbone, just looks a little bit higher. It's less of a wholesome girl next door look, and it's more a chiseled threat look. So when I'm stressed, especially due to relationship issues, whether it is a love interest or a family or friend relationship, I find that there's a few strategies that help me, I think, trying to remain calm. I mean, this is really hard for sure, but when things are getting really, someone's confronted you and it's ugly and you're feeling horrible and bad and you feel like crying. I mean, sometimes it's just downright ugly. You have no choice but to, but I find as I get older, I really try and avoid that. Everybody get into the, WWF ring and just try and do that. try and do that a little less because it's not very dignified. And if it happens, then let's try and take a deep breath and step away and maybe give ourselves some space so that, you know, we don't continue that, because I think it's not good for anybody and I don't think it really resolves anything. And I think ultimately it is going to cause some very bad feelings or things said that you don't necessarily want to be said. The best thing is for everybody to take a break from each other. That's the honest truth. No matter how toxic or bad or you know, misguided somebody is, even if it's you need to take a break. You need to step back and just give yourself some time. That's one. So the blush is looking poppin', which is good. And as you can see, this created a lot more dimension through the bottom of the cheek, and it's a straight contour, so it makes my face look a lot more chiseled. So then we're gonna go in, and for highlight, we need something really bright. It's gonna blind your opponent. And for this, the brighter the better, because you want it to pop. You want them to be blinded, taken aback. As you can see, see that from space. And repeat it on the other side. So I just go at the very top of the cheek, where just above where we put the blush. And again, this is a straight line. And then I just like to pop a little bit above my eyebrow, just to make my face a little more dimension. And then at the tip of my nose, just a little bit. And right under the brow bone, I use a little bit there as well. So I did mention that you need to give yourself space. Yes, space is important. The challenge with conflict and people in our lives causing us to feel unsettled and really disheveled and mentally unwell, we need to get back to our calm inner selves. There's a few methods that I use to do this. The first thing I find that makes me feel better is information. I'll go on the internet, and there's a lot of mental health and psychology resources out there that I will try and find ways to calm myself by trying to research how to feel better when you're distressed, or how to deal with toxic people, how to feel better when your boyfriend is acting like So these things really help. Another thing that really helps is to step back. Over the course of the next little while, you definitely are going to analyze everything to death. Definitely taking a step back and trying to be as logical and as unbiased as possible. I know that's difficult, but that really does help. And so with the information that you find, with logic and as much impartialness as possible, as well as turning to some friends, especially if you have some friends that are a little bit more logical and less emotion-based. You know who they are. They're those ones that have just a little bit more of a stoic view on life. Those are the ones I usually turn to when there's high strife in my life. Friends and family members are a good sounding board. You know, even if you don't tell them specifically what the issue is, just to lean on them for support, and sometimes just get a different perspective always just help as well. So I'm going to go in and do my lips first, and just so that I can get a more polished look, so that I can determine exactly what I want to do for the eyes. So let's just go ahead. This is a lip pencil that is a thicker one, and I just overline slightly. I'm doing a more rose pink base for this product. I think it's nice to pick a more rosy or pinky tone to your lip, as after all, we are using the Divine Rose palette on the eyes. So then another resource I do after as well is I really lean on the meditative arts. So I use the Calm app on my phone, and there's so many good scenes with really calm and meditative music, and there's also guided meditations on there as well. I know there's lots of good meditation and calming apps, so I use that. I turn it on and I just sit in a dark room and I just try and listen and just live in that moment and listen to the music or the words, just really meditate. If I'm even so unsorted that I can't meditate myself, I find that guided meditation really helps. Before all this, of course, you're sleeping and you're crying. You need to definitely rest that stress. So you can see it's very rosy, a pretty neutral look. And then I'm gonna go in with a slightly darker color, but this I'm not gonna be applying this full tilt. I'm just gonna apply one thin layer on the bottom, press my lips together, and then we're going to blot it on a tissue. We're gonna go in with this light color, and we're going to, we need this to be a long-lasting lip look. And a little trick that I'll show you, you can go in with your setting powder and just tap off excess. So you can just go in with a little bit, tap off the excess, and you can just run it over the lipstick, and that'll make it really long lasting. You know, exercise also is very helpful. Strenuous works in some occasions, but most of the time if I'm very stressed, if I can't mentally bring myself to even do that, then I will just do some really gentle yoga. And along with the meditation, I find that those really calm and center me. Everything is looking pretty good, except the eyes, of course, still look really blank without anything on our eyes. So we're gonna go in with both of these palettes. I'm gonna use one shade from each. These are so beautiful. My Hooded Asian Eye needs a cut crease. I always find it draws a lot more dimension and makes my eye look larger and more sunken in, which is the goal. See, I don't really understand when people just try and beige out their eyes. A lot of makeup looks on the internet really just do a really bright and really flat eye look. That's not what I'm going for. I'm Asian. I already have a flat face. So so anybody who has a mono lid will definitely benefit from my technique, because there is always a soft cut crease. In today's case, I'm going to do a little more of a severe cut crease, but if you are blessed with big eyes, just use these colors as readily and freely as you are blessed to do so. For me, I need to be a bit more intentional. A more severe cut crease needs a more dense and smaller brush. I will link some good ones in the description box. So you're going to go into the Divine Rose 1 palette, the Extreme Mahogany shade right here. We're going to dip our brush into it. I always like to saturate the inner corner. As you can see, we're building it out. And so a cut crease is basically where you're drawing the top of your lid. So in my case, my crease is at the bottom end, but we are making the illusion of a lid. If you have a lid on the top, then you can definitely just go in with this color and just blend it near the top crease. And it's gonna look a little crazy before we blend it out. So we're taking it all the way to the outer, all the way just past our outer line. As you can see, I'm just past where the outer corner of my eye is, and we're gonna dip back into the color. And we're going to start at the very bottom, and we're going to connect those two like that. This actual line that we're drawing right now is going to be a guide for where our sharp liner is going to be after. But for now, we're kind of doing the drawing the line before we do it. We're reaching into the same color, and we're going into the other eye. If you are less experienced with darker colors, you can definitely take a smaller amount on your brush, and you can always build it up. Just make sure you're keeping it really concentrated. We will blend it out after, but for now, we're keeping it really concentrated in that crease. And again, I'm going to reach in to the color and saturate that sharp line. So the look that we're going for, it's a complex look. It's both soft based on the colors we're using, but the technique is going to be such a severe liner that it's going to look, there's no room for our enemy to see any weakness. That's what we're going for. So anyway, as I was saying, with the meditation and the yoga, trying to center oneself after trauma or something having happened to us due to someone toxic in our lives, we do have to really step back from that person. After all the work we've done with ourselves, we need to really examine whether this person can continue to be someone that we can have in our lives. That is always part of a discussion. And I know with especially very close people or very especially family, it can be very, very difficult. But we do need to recognize that you are who you hang out with. And so at the end of the day, if you continue to entertain negativity and toxicity, it will not benefit your life. You need to come to that realization. I know this is difficult, whether it is a short-term friend or whether it's somebody that's been in your life for a long time. But if enough times it's becoming too ugly and too toxic and they're really always dragging you down, and when you look at the patterns and the behaviors, if that is something that seems to be a theme that runs through the continued relationship with this person, then we need to evaluate whether that relationship is serving us. So we're going to dip back into that color and we're going to take it just below the corner of our eye. We're just extending it so you can see compared to that eye, see where it's blank, and then here it's just going to draw the eye a little bit larger, and we're going to do the same thing, dip again, and do the same thing on this eye. These are all techniques just to help with giving the eye a little bit more dimension. We're going to go in with the shade again, and this time we're just going to tap off the excess onto the side, and we're just going to run it along the bottom of our lower lash. This is going to give us a really soft, we are not going to be lining our under eye, so this will just give us a little bit of extra dimension. Same thing, tap it off, and we're going to run it along the lower lash line on the other side. Sometimes relationships, they're such an essential part of life, but there may come a time where certain types of people or certain people in our lives need to, and even for that person, it's not just for you, but for that person, this relationship is not serving them as well, because they may not be able to recognize the patterns. Sorry, what I just did was I took the excess that was on my brush already. Underneath our eye, we have this fatty deposit. I just like to run it just under there to give it a little bit more dimension. I don't know if you can see, that is a really good trick. I love that. That really helps to see how the eyes are becoming a bit more dimensioned and a bit more cat-like. Again, look in the mirror and just even out your eyes. Any spots that you see that are missing, needs to be equilibrium between the eyes. So I do like that. And then we're going to take a softer blending brush, the one that I mentioned. Well, this is my favorite one. I will link it below. Okay, so from the Divine Rose 2 palette, so look at these stunning colors, but we're going to take the Naked Blush, which is this pinky peachy shade that's right here. And so you can see the two colors that I chose are very different colors. One was extreme and one is soft. And we're just gonna dip that blender brush and we're gonna run over what we did. We're gonna run on top of that cut crease color, and we're going to just go on top of it. It'll give it a slightly deeper, we're just going to keep it really in the inner corner of the eye. And then we're going to go to the other corner and we're just blending and running it along the cut crease. This will just make the taupe color, the mahogany color that we put on before, it'll give that color a bit more of a rosy hue. Dipping back in and doing the same thing for the outer. And again, just, as you can see, that just deepened it up and gave it a light pinky hue. It is both soft and hard. So that looks pretty good. Double checking your mirror and just make sure they're both equal on both sides. And now we're going to go in with our liquid liner. So this is my favorite liquid eyeliner. There are also a couple of other ones that I really like. I will also link them in the description box for this sharp winged eyeliner look. So see this ring? I even have my evil eye ring on today because that's how I feel sometimes. When you're going through it, you need all the protection you can get. I got this at Swarovski. I don't know if they still make it, but I'll link it if I can find it. I find it just even to give you mentally a bit of peace, it's really good. So anyways, we're gonna need a very black, very fine eyeliner. This one is amazing. I find that a magnifying mirror really helps to get really close in and detailed. If you have good eyesight, you might not need it, but these old eyes need any help they can get. So we're gonna start at the inner corner, and what we're gonna do is, my inner corner is very hidden. So depending on the anatomy of your eye, I don't take it right into the inside of my eye. I just stretch it a tiny bit and I just take it as far as it will visually go. And then I will extend it to the bottom. As you can see, it just creates a tiny little line past your eye, and I will do that for this eye as well. And if you make a mistake, I just like to have a wet makeup wipe handy in case you make any little error, and you just take the corner of that. We're just gonna make that corner really sharp as well. My left eye never goes as well as my right eye. Okay, so once we've done that, we're gonna go to the outer corner and just I just like to extend. So see where our eye is going up, where it starts to angle. I just like to continue that line. And we already have a line from the cut crease, and we're just going to slowly take it up to the side of that cut crease. We will clean up any areas that the eyeshadow or the eyeliner got after. Don't be too worried if it's not perfect. That's what makeup wipes are for. The makeup mistakes are a lot more easy to wipe away than life mistakes. And so then we go in and do that for the other eye. And take your time. So once we look like that, we look a little crazy. It looks a little bit like a Halloween costume, but it's fine because we're gonna go into the inner corner. We're gonna meet it. We're gonna start drawing that line. We're gonna go really close to our eyelash line. We're gonna slowly paint it in. And we're gonna do that roughly to about 1/3 of the way. Okay? So if you can see, and then we're gonna repeat it on the other eye. Just trying to meet those two eyes. And try and look in the mirror so that you can see what your eye looks like when it's fully open, because especially with monolids or deep set eyes or eyes that have not an ideal lid, you're going to need to step back and make sure that you can see it when you're looking at yourself full on. So we drew it almost all the way. We left about a quarter on both sides that we did not do that. So at this point, depending on your eye and your eye shape, you're gonna need, so the goal is you're gonna attach it to this side eyeliner, but we don't wanna do it all the way up. So we're only gonna be picking about a halfway. So we're going to attach, we're drawing a line straight from, dip it back into, if you're running out. And we're going to fill in once we connect the line to our other line, to the line that we made on outside of the shaded area. That looks pretty good. And then we're going to go in on the other side. We're going to draw again halfway, like it's a little scooping line. Let's connect the dots from the liner to the side line that you drew earlier, coming from the side. So as you can see, it's a pretty dramatic eye. Without mascara or eyelashes, this looks pretty severe, but trust me when I say that once you pop some really good black shiny mascara or a really good eyelash on, this is going to really pull your whole eyelid together. I'll pop on a pair of lashes and I will be right back. I'm back, the eyelashes are on. I have a tutorial on my false eyelashes here. This is such a good look, pretty, but it is also very, very polished. The perfect look to meet any enemy. Finally, I just take a spritz of a long-lasting makeup spray. You need it to last all day and all night. And that is the completed makeup look. So my final verdicts on these palettes. I do think they are so beautiful. The quality of her shadows, so pigmented, and just the right amount of creaminess versus powderiness, whatever the word is. They really go on the lid very well. There's very little fallout. They are so easy to apply. Do I think you need both palettes? If you are a makeup enthusiast, you like to collect Pat McGrath, then yes, these are a no-brainer because these are some of her best. I do think though that if you are just looking to add to your makeup collection, I think that depending on what type of makeup you wear, if you are more neutral makeup wearer, the original palette will serve you well. But if you want something that's just a little bit more interesting of a storyline, then the second one is the one that I think you should go with. I think overall, the original palette has more of a full look for you to do an entire eye. The second one I feel is missing some neutral shades in terms of transition, so I do think you'll have to use a couple of shades from another palette to get that. So depends on what you're going for. They're both beautiful. I personally, if I could only have one, I probably would pick the original one. That is because I'm just more of a neutral girl, but they are both gorgeous. I would highly suggest them. All of our palettes are beautiful and you will really enjoy them. I did want to give you some final thoughts on the mindset around meeting our enemy. In conclusion, I think it is mostly about finding inner peace and inner strength and your inner warrior. It is less about what happens with other people and more about how you feel inside and how you're going to find the blessings and the positivity in your life and rising above the things that happen in your life that are negative or toxic and being able to grow and elevate and feel better and do better. I hope you really like this makeup look. I really enjoyed making it for you. These palettes are beautiful. If you do them, please tag me. Let me know at Better Beauty. Please comment. Let me know what struggles you've had or how you've overcome toxic or harmful people in your life, how you've elevated, or what challenges you still face. I want this channel to be not just skincare and anti-aging and looking your best and makeup, but also around the mindset of growing and thriving and doing better. That includes all of us sharing not just our beauty tips, but our inner beauty tips. Please give this a thumbs up, like it, please subscribe and hit that notification bell, and I'll see you next time.